Now, sands indeed have been shifting in West Asia in recent weeks and months. And now the shift is a huge one. Syria has been readmitted into the Arab League of Nations, ending 12 years of political isolation. The move comes after Arab League foreign ministers voted to reinstate Syria back into Arab fold at a closed meeting in Cairo. A unanimous decision by the group's foreign ministers said, and I'm quoting here, government delegations from the Syrian Arab Republic will resume their participation in Arab League meetings. The decision also called for resolution of Syria's civil war.
ومما لا شك فيه إن انضمام الجمهورية العربية السورية إلى البيان الختامي لاجتماع عمان يوم الأول من مايو الجاري هو تطور إيجابي وخطوة هامة على صعيد إثبات حسن النوايا وتنفيذ التعهدات وتعزيز التعاون العربي لحل الأزمة السورية.
Now, all 13 of the 22 member states that were present in the meeting endorsed the decision. However, not all parties on the table have been in for the decision. While United Arab League has been pushing for Syria's readmission, others have been wary of the move.
اتخذت الدول العربية قراراً باستئناف مشاركة وفد الجمهورية العربية السورية في اجتماعات مجلس جامعة الدول العربية وجميع المنظمات والأجهزة التابعة لها اعتباراً من اليوم 7 مايو 2023.
Now, some like Jordan has been urging for a return with conditions attached, while Qatar has been opposing full normalization without a political solution to the Syrian conflict. According to the decision, Secretary Generals of Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Lebanon, Egypt, and the Arab Leagues would form a ministerial contact group to work along with the Syrian government and seek a step-by-step solution to the crisis. The decision comes ahead of Arab League summit on May 19th, that is, in Jeddah. The last Arab League summit Bashar al-Assad attended was back in 2010.
عودة سوريا إلى شاغل المقعد هي بداية.
You guys understand the United States when lecturing people about human rights and respecting the sovereignty of other countries. The United States has been stealing Syrian oil. Here, I'm gonna show you guys this. Just from I think this is a new headline. Yeah, this is not new information, but it is an example of what the activities we've been involved in Syria. U.S. occupation forces steal 33 tankers of Syrian oil. So as we lecture other countries, we just straight up bomb, kill, sanction, and rob people in Syria, right? And and they also, the United States provides weapons and support for Israel, and Israel nonstop bombing of Syria. And this story, the left needs to talk about more because this shows the massive hypocrisy of the West. Why is Russia fighting in Ukraine? Because Russia see the threat of NATO encroachment on their border, and they see Nazis on their border going to war as a national security threat, right? So what Israel said is Syria is they provide a safe haven for Houthi rebels and extremists. So that's why Israel has the right to bomb them, because they have their enemy in that country. How is that any different from what Russia is saying about Ukraine?
Right.
But that's okay. It's okay for Israel to bomb Syria because they claim they're going after Houthi extremists and rebels, but it's not okay for Russia to bomb and attack neo-Nazis? I'm consistent, right? We respect the sovereignty of these countries, which the United States do not in Syria, as we see here. And now there's a story, the one I did pull up earlier, and this is what the intro. I'm glad you covered this because I had a segment on it. This is a good way to squeeze a quick segment on it.
Right. Exactly.
Where you have, that's why I love the intros you pick out. So this is going to be a quick segment. We just cover this quickly. The Arab League readmits Syria as relations with Assad normalized. Now, Syria has been suspended from the league since 2011. Some states sought conditions for Syria's return. Now, remember this part. U.S. official says Syria does not merit readmission. Now I have a question for you guys. Got a question. What does this name say? As far as I can read, that says the Arab League. I know I'm saying it wrong. You gotta roast me all the time for that, but that's the Arab
League, yeah.
Arab League, right? That's the Arab League. That is not the United States League. That's not the Mississippi League. What the fuck, man? You think you guys can chime in on this? So I'm gonna show you guys this. Once again, it's very short. I'm showing you guys some quick receipts. Look at from the New York Times state media, because they should have to say on what the Arab League does. According to them, this is New York Times. Syria's rehabilitation of Syria. You know, the country we stole a ton of oil from, the country that Israel bombed to death. The crime of Syria resisting Western governments and regimes. How dare they? Now we're trying to rehabilitate. Now they're trying to be rehabilitated for the crimes of resisting Western regimes. Anyway, let me read it. Syria's rehabilitation could unlock billions of dollars in reconstruction projects and other investments for its tottering economy. Further propping up President Bashar al-Assad, who is accused of committing war crimes against their own people. Now, do you guys understand how crazy what they're saying is? What they're saying is unhinged. So this project, this development that would increase the quality of life for hundreds of thousands of Syrians, they frame it as, oh, you help Bashar al-Assad. That's what they frame it as. Fuck the Syrian people, CJ. It's all about
who cares about them?
Bashar al-Assad. How dare you guys help him? Meanwhile, people are like, you know how much it was helping the Syrian people? Now, this is what Aaron Mate mentioned in his tweet. This is a great tweet by Aaron Mate. Is the New York Times aware that millions of people are living inside Syria? You know, it's not just Bashar al-Assad, right? So there are millions of people in Syria who will benefit from this war-torn country finally being allowed reconstruction after being decimated in the most expensive, dirty war in CI history. But New York Times don't care about that. They don't want any situation that helps Syrian people out because that may help Bashar al-Assad, who is a quote-unquote war criminal. So the people in Syria don't deserve any help because they are led by a war criminal, says the Americans. Says the Americans. You guys see how they speak about their enemies? You see how they speak about the war criminals of their enemies? How they have zero tolerance. There's zero tolerance if you're a war criminal outside the United States. But you got a war criminal in the United States? Come on, man. The lesser of two evils. Come on, man. Why do you guys care so much about foreign policy? Why is that your red line? Oh, my God. I know you disagree, Marianne, on foreign policy. Why is that a big deal? You guys see how that's... You see how when they talk about other countries, foreign policy and the crimes of their leader is the most important thing. You can allow millions of people to starve. You can put sanctions on countries that starve millions of people, and all that is justified because you have a war criminal. They got a war criminal government, but they want you to vote for Joe Biden. You guys see how inconsistent? The same way they talk about our enemies is how we should talk about our government. You guys understand? The same standards should apply. So this is nothing but a good thing. That's a great tweet by Aaron. But as you see, the United States, and I have another
my thoughts, my sort of, and I've been seeing the same tweets. It's funny how we picked the same stuff. I had that too, but it's good you brought it up. So yeah. I didn't have to bring it up. But Aaron does these sometimes, and Ben Norton does it sometimes, and Max. Those three, they do these threads where you can just kind of follow the story. But anyway, what this speaks, the United States reaction to this speaks to how, think about what, because the point you make, the way I would like to illustrate it is like, think about how they speak to the humanity, human rights violation. Would you consider it a human rights violation to torture millions in order to seek one person? Isn't that a human rights violation for you, audience? Like, so again, the United States is the biggest purveyor of human rights violations with things like what we call Cold War, or not Cold War, but and versus a hot war, like a sanctions. But this is a great thing for this region, and this is the point. Now I was speaking until I remember the point. What I wanted to make was China's influence here is they have their fingerprints all over this, because the first domino that fell in the sort of Arab world was the peace deal they worked out.
Yep.
And then sort of all of a sudden, all these deals just magically happen. Like, how would that be? All these countries with years of like war, years of a conflict, just magically weeks after the first deal that China cuts, brokers, I should say, now all of these deals happen. So this is what the United States is afraid of. This is why Morning Joe covered it now, trying to spin it like, yeah, China's going to be part of this. Now we're pivoting to China like it's a choice.
This is Ben Norton. The USA, a country in North America, a lot of liberals forget. On the other side of the planet, a lot of liberals forget, is telling the Arab League they can't readmit Syria after the U.S. waged war on it for a decade. The United States thinks it's the emperor of Earth and wants to control every region. Fortunately, they're now ignoring it. So when you say China play a big part in this, like I think so many of these countries are seeing the opportunity to destroy U.S. hegemonic dominance, and they are willing to set differences aside and let that happen. Like that's such a like what I've been seeing for the Middle East recently. Mostly this year has the Biden administration has been taking L after L after L, because this is without a doubt a giant loss for the United States, and that's why people like Ben Norton and Armate, ourselves right now, we're calling this out. The United States is salty as hell. I'll share this one last one.
But the reason why China is important, their influence is important, is because the reason a lot of these countries are making this decision is because they feel there's another superpower. You get what I'm saying? They feel there's another option. Let's say this is 30 years ago, where there's just the United States just doing shit whatever the fuck they want with sanctions. You know what I'm saying? These types of things wouldn't happen. So just the influence of seeing another rising superpower, the world becoming a multipolar world, is having them say, hey, if we jump off the ship to these other bastards, at least there's some other superpowers that we can do deals with. And I believe that could be the influence, or sort of the influence, that China has here.
Yeah, absolutely. This last tweet I'll read, then I'll pass to you for some quick announcements. Syria restored as full member of the Arab League after more than 10 years of isolation. The Arab countries decided to unite despite the outrage of the United States. We do not believe that Syria deserves to be returned to the Arab League for today, said this group of white.
Readmitted Syria.
The fucking audacity of our state. But tell me more about China and Taiwan. How dare China try to influence a country that is 3 times closer to Hawaii than Hawaii is to the United States, that has been had long time cultural heritage and relations with China that spans centuries, that is literally a part of the country? How dare China try to influence Taiwan? Meanwhile, the United States is trying to influence politics in a whole nother fucking region, across the Atlantic Ocean. Absolutely. You got NATO. You got NATO in Japan. NATO fucking around in Australia. And I'm like, hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. This NATO stands for the North Atlantic Trade Organization. Do you guys understand that? North Atlantic. No, you guys know what the North Atlantic is? Not in Australia, not Japan, not Ukraine. Does Ukraine look North Atlantic to you? The fuck is NATO doing over there?